did you do that? I don't know. What were you thinking? I don't know. Why do you even do that? I don't know. Just stop asking me these questions. I don't know. When I was in the first grade, some of the older students in the second grade had cornered me by the bathroom, and, well, they claimed that they would be my friends if I pulled down my pants for them. And honestly, I think I would have done this if my teacher hadn't caught me. Because, you see, they tried to claim that it was my idea to do this. It was only later that my teacher found out what was really going on. But at the time, all I could really say was, I don't know. And at the time, it was true. I really didn't know why I thought this was a good idea.
Moms watch their kids. From the first moment we hold them in our arms, we watch for first glances, first smiles, first babbles. But Avi didn't watch back. 5 seconds, I read that somewhere. That's normal infant eye contact. But always by the time I got to 4, Avi's eyes would slide away. Those years when Avi was a baby felt like a time of holding my breath, counting over and over, not quite to 5. Being Avi's mom felt really important. I quit my teaching job to take Avi to therapy 4 days a week. It felt really important, but it also felt like not enough. I was lonely and isolated. One gorgeous summer evening when Avi was about 2, I went with Avi's dad to a gala at our temple. It was on this pier. I could see the lights of Seattle reflected in the Puget Sound. All these couples were dancing. Jewish couples, interfaith couples, gay couples. I love my progressive temple. And I was watching my friend Joan dance with her wife, just like the easiest thing in the world, just so tender. And I was just hit with this wave of longing that just pierced right through me and turned my legs to water.
When I was in elementary school, the one thing that I remember is wanting to be alone all the time. Like, I just want to be alone and work on my Rubik's Cube in some corner. Or, like, I want to escape the school cafeteria. Or, because all the voices of the people talking was just too loud and noisy. Back then, people thought I was really weird for wanting to be alone all the time.
I remember watching Avi be alone a lot and feeling like I wanted to help but not knowing how. And the school sure wasn't much help. There was this time right before the end of 2nd grade, I got this message from the front desk person at Avi's school, and I could hear her voice on the answering machine getting louder and higher, and I could kind of hear Avi in the background, kind of worked up, and she's going, "Young man, sit down. I'm going to call your mother. See, I'm calling her right now. Young man, sit down. Young man, you're making bad choices." I hate that phrase, bad choices. You know, like there's a lot of choice going on in the prefrontal cortex when the amygdala is all flooded. "Young man, sit down right now or you're not coming to school tomorrow. Young man, sit down or you're suspended. Young man, sit down right now or you're suspended until the end of school." And the line goes dead. "Oh, hell no! You are not suspending my son for a manifestation of a disability. First of all, that is illegal. And second of all, no goddamn school secretary without jurisdiction and without due process is making my son miss the last week of school because he wouldn't sit down." I didn't have to go all mama bear on the principal because even he could see that the whole thing was ridiculous. But that was one of the easier battles.
Then, when I was in the 6th grade, our class was assigned to research a social justice issue of our choosing. The goal was to pick something where you could then go on and enact real-world change. But I felt I just couldn't do that if I didn't pick something personally meaningful.
When I suggested autism, Avi was really resistant because he felt like it was really negative, really stigmatized.
Yeah, back then, the label autism made me seem like a disabled person, or like it was almost like it described someone who just wasn't me. But eventually I decided to research the struggles of gen ed teachers when trying to teach autistic children in mainstream education. And as I was doing this research, I found out that all the differences I had originally thought were me differences turned out to be autistic differences, like the noisy cafeteria thing, or not wanting to do my homework because I already knew the concepts and I didn't feel like I had to prove it to any of my teachers, or when something unexpected would happen and I'd throw a huge fit, even if it turned out to be something that I really enjoyed.
Meanwhile, I'd always felt different too, but I knew it wasn't just a me thing. I knew there were plenty of people like me right over there on the other side of the dance floor. But that other side of the floor seemed really far away. All the things I was doing to live more of the life I wanted, they were great. Fighting for Avi's rights in the school system, trips and friends, and the big one, going back to graduate school for my doctorate, they weren't enough. I still felt like I was watching my life from the outside. It was time to take that last big step and leave my marriage and step out on the dance floor myself.
When my mom came out, it showed me that you don't have to let others define who you are. And then another thing happened. She got really interested in my project about teachers and about teaching autistics in education. And it got me thinking, maybe I don't have to let others define who I am either.
It's true, I started getting really interested in Avi's project and teachers saying they wanted more training. And a lot of the training they do get is focused on managing behavior and not on how autistic kids think differently. Over the next few years, Avi worked with me to develop a series of presentations on autistic processing differences. These presentations became the basis of my dissertation, a teacher training on autistic processing differences.
You've got to admit, it's pretty darn cool when you can say that your mother turned your 6th grade project into her dissertation. But what was even more important is the way it changed how I thought about myself. I no longer thought of myself as a disabled person, but as an academic researcher and scholar. When I was 14, my mom and I went to the Association for Autistic Community Conference, and I was able to give my very first academic presentation about my experiences with bullying and teacher interventions in the public school system.
At that conference, I made a conscious decision to change the way I was relating to Avi. Things like stop asking him to talk quieter, stop commenting on his stimming. And it really opened my eyes to how often I'd been doing it.
When my mom decided to back off, it truly gave me the freedom to be myself. I was no longer trying to mold my behavior in a way that was acceptable to neurotypicals.
Meanwhile, I was way out of my comfort zone. I spent the week in autistic space. In fact, on the last day of the conference, I was one of only 3 neurotypical people there, so they asked me to be on the Ask a Neurotypical panel. And we were having this discussion about disclosing your status at job interviews. And I had this crazy moment of confronting my queer privilege. You know, it's no longer a radical thing to be out in Seattle. I don't have to worry about my housing or what my family's going to say, or even my career. I have clients who seek me out as a queer therapist because I am queer.
For me, though, it is still a really big deal to say that I am autistic. For a long time, I used to be afraid to share this because I felt it would make me seem like less of a person. Now, however, well, people at my school know they can't say things like, "That's so gay," as an insult anymore. Instead, I hear people saying, "Ugh, he's so autistic," as a really derogatory thing. And I stand up and say, "Hey, I have autism and you're talking about me." In fact, there are even programs like the Microsoft Autistic Hiring Initiative that are specifically looking for people like me because we are autistic.
When Avi was a baby, and I was counting over and over, not quite to 5, with that strange feeling of watching our lives from the outside, I never would have dreamed that this journey of identity would have brought the two of us here today.
I am autistic.
I am queer.
We are family.